Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome and happy Easter. I'm Sarah Reiling, one of the worship associates who is bringing the service to you today. I'm joined by Jen Mason, who made the beautiful slides for today's service, Sandy Farlow, who will read the message for all ages, and Ina McBride and Steve Mason, who will do today's readings. How many of you have not been to a Unitarian Universalist Easter service before? Anyone there? All right. Well, it may be a little bit different than what you're used to. Yes, like everything else. But we hope you enjoy it, whether you're here with us in the sanctuary or at home. Hey, let's turn around and tell everyone at home a happy Easter. Happy Easter! But once again, welcome. Come, gather together in joy and gratitude. It is the appropriate season for resurrection. The earth has thrown off her slumber and awakened again. The dark winter is over and light returns. Come, let us worship together. We light our chalice today in solidarity with all the other Easter chalices being lit this morning. The chalice lighting words were written by Sandy Farlow and are read today by Deanna Meyler.
Spring is the time for rebirth, rejuvenation, and renewal. The snows of winter melt away. Flowers bloom, buds appear on the trees, frog and turtles come out of hibernation. Birds are on the wing. So too, let our spirits awake and soar in accord with the season.
Our covenant is about the promises we have made to each other, about how we will be with each other and how we will be in the community. We recommit ourselves to these promises each time we are together. Please join in once again saying these words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another.
Well, the snow has melted, hopefully. Flowers are blooming and the days are getting warmer. It must be spring. Spring represents the end of winter's dormancy and the return of life, growth, and fertility, which resonates with the spiritual concepts of renewal and rebirth. Many cultures and religions incorporate spring celebrations to mark the end of a cycle, whether it's a period of fasting or reflection, and the beginning of a new phase of spiritual growth and understanding. And many of these festivals are based on ancient celebrations. The Greeks celebrated the return of Persephone from the underworld. Romans had Hilaria, and I love that, Hilaria, a day of merriment and rejoicing to celebrate the resurrection of Attis, the son and husband of Sibyl. It's a complicated story. It was also a celebration of the Osiris and Isis cult. Our more familiar source of spring and other religious festivals are probably pagan rites. Most ancient pagan-based or alternative spring rituals had already severely declined in popularity by the end of the 3rd century, but rather than being removed outright, those festivals were secularized. And it was a long political and religious struggle that lasted over 3 centuries and has never been fully resolved. We still have neo-pagans among us, many. A long time ago, people lived closer to the land than many of us do now. They built their houses of materials that the earth provided. There were no grocery stores or markets. People grew and gathered all their food from the earth and were dependent on the seasons to have food. Spring, summer, and autumn were times of plenty, and the people ate their fill and stored the rest for winter. During winter, the earth fell into a death-like sleep, and people ate only the food they had stored. Sometimes the food ran out before more could be grown or gathered. People were hungry, and they prayed to the earth to wake up and provide their food once more. The vernal equinox came, and the sun warmed the earth, and she started to awaken. Trees budded, ice melted, animals gave birth. The wild greens pushing up through the earth meant that the hungry days would soon be over. The earth had heard their prayers and was providing for them once more. The vernal or spring equinox is one of the festivals that modern pagans celebrate. It's called Ostara in honor of a northern European goddess, and so later these old ways were incorporated into the developing Christian calendar, often with little alteration. You know, if you can't beat them, join them. There are grocery stores now to buy food, though, and many pagans still keep gardens that they harvest. Modern pagans, called neo-pagans, consider Ostara a time to welcome back the light and celebrate the rebirth, balance, and fertility of the earth. They decorate their homes and altars with flowers and colored eggs and images of rabbits and hares. Some of these same symbols are used in Christian Easter celebrations, which brings us to Easter, a joyful celebration by all major Christian religions. Christianity, Catholicism, and Eastern Orthodoxy celebrating Jesus' resurrection and triumph of life over death. On Easter Sunday, people attend church services, often sunrise services, symbolizing a new beginning where they sing and pray. It's also a widespread cultural celebration of the changing seasons. It's a day for family activities like hiding eggs and searching for hidden treats around the house or yard. The holiday symbols are shared with other traditions: blooming flowers, hot cross buns, decorated eggs, lambs, baskets of grass with small gifts, and the Easter bunny. And by the way, in Australia, they have an Easter bilby. So they consider rabbits pests. There is a chocolate bilby for you to see the difference between a rabbit and a bilby. I'm not sure if they eat the ears first like we do, but... The Jewish holiday of Passover is celebrated for 7 or 8 days, depending on the branch of Judaism the person practices. Passover 2025 begins at sundown on April 12th and ends at sundown on April 20th. Passover is a time to reflect on the Hebrew people's freedom from slavery in ancient Egypt. The holiday also recognizes the sparing of the firstborn of the Israelites, the passing over of forces of destruction, when the Lord smote the land of Egypt on the eve of the Exodus. The celebration begins on the first day at sundown, when family members gather for a special dinner called a Seder. At the Seder, Jews read the text of the Haggadah, an ancient work that contains the narrative of the Israelite exodus from Egypt, special blessings and rituals, Talmudic commentaries, and Passover songs. Most breads aren't allowed during Passover, but matzah, a flat, cracker-like bread without yeast, is an exception. The Hebrew people are said to have fled Egypt so quickly that the bread they were preparing to take with them did not have time to rise. A bitter herb called Meyler, usually represented by horseradish, is also set on the table, symbolizing the different experiences and difficult experiences of the people who were enslaved. Other symbolic foods include egg, green herbs, nut fruits and spice, and a lamb shank bone. During the meal, families and friends recall stories about their ancestors' time of slavery and celebrate their independence. Holi. There you go. Bright neon powders cover revelers in northern India during the annual Hindu celebration called Holi. Known as the Festival of Colors, Holi is celebrated on the last full moon in the lunar month of Falguna. This ancient tradition marks the end of winter and honors the triumph of good over evil. Celebrants light bonfires, throw colorful powders called gulal, eat sweets, and dance to traditional folk music. Nowruz means new day and marks the beginning of spring. Also known as the Persian New Year, it's celebrated by millions of people in Iran, formerly Persia, and other countries, especially throughout the Middle East and Central Asia. In the modern era, it is observed as a secular holiday by most celebrants and is one of the world's oldest continuing celebrated holidays. And our Farangas celebrates Nowruz every spring, so you're well within your rights to say Happy Nowruz. Families celebrate Nowruz by cleaning their homes and having a big feast. A table is usually arranged with 7 items that start with the letter S in the Persian language, such as sprouts or sabzi and dried fruits. And each item symbolizes a principle, such as love or rebirth, blessings, hopes, and good fortune for the new year. Some people also exchange gifts or go to picnics and have street festivals to ring in that time of the year. Songkran. Oh, this is a fun one. A celebration marking the Thai New Year is all about making a fresh start with a splash. The festival is celebrated in Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar, and usually lasts 3 days, though festivities can start earlier and later in some cities. Songkran refers to the sun's annual passing into the Aries constellation, the first sign of the zodiac, which marks the traditional start of their new year. Water plays a major role in the festival. Symbolically, it washes away the previous year so people can get ready for the next one. Many Songkran traditions use water, such as cleaning homes, sprinkling water on Buddhist statues, and the hands of elders. Outside, Songkran is celebrated with street parties and a giant water fight. Really, there are warnings online. If you're going to Thailand at this time of the year, be prepared and make sure you have shoes and clothes that you don't mind leaving behind. So spring celebrations are common across almost all faiths and cultures, in part due to the symbolic association with renewal, rebirth, and new beginnings, and the themes of spiritual and physical transformation. The vibrant colors, the blossoming flowers, and the longer days of spring evoke a sense of hope and optimism in all the peoples of the world. Thank you.
I'll share the words and reflections of Reverend Rachel Longfeld. In the church that raised me, there was a woman named Gussie. Gussie was 81 years older than me. I considered her a special friend. Gussie was the kind of person who just about everyone considered a special friend. One of the wonderful things about Gussie was the kind of person who she was a special friend to just about everyone. One of the wonderful things about Gussie was that she dressed for church. She emerged from the struggles of her life with a commitment to beauty and elegance. Her formal suit, hat, and gloves stood out in the congregation. Most people in this suburban Seattle congregation dressed in polar fleece and sensible shoes as if a hike might break out at any moment. On Easter, Gussie always outdid herself wearing an Easter bonnet, tastefully done up with flowers. Everyone looked forward to seeing her beauty and the joy she embodied on Easter mornings. Gussie died in her late 90s after a long and meaningful life, but a very brief illness. She died in the early spring, a few weeks before Easter. We all mourned. People shared how sad they would be, sad not to see Gussie in her beautiful Easter bonnet that year. It felt like the end of Gussie's story. Then someone had the idea. What if we wore Easter bonnets like Gussie did? The word spread. That Easter morning, the sanctuary was filled with Easter bonnets and other hats on the heads of dozens of people of all genders. It was truly beautiful. The church has continued that tradition. People wear Easter bonnets and other hats every Easter morning. People who loved Gussie, people who never knew Gussie, and people who weren't even born before her death have all been invited to share Gussie's story. Her commitment to the beauty and joy lives on. While this Easter bonnet tradition has faded some over the years, it still has continued. This is my favorite resurrection story. People of all ages and all genders wearing Easter bonnets year after year, in memory of someone that not all of them even remember. It is a triumph of love over death, which is the core of the Easter message. Death is never the ending of a story. Gussie's story continues on in the hearts and on the heads of the congregation that loved her. In this season of struggle, may we find and create beauty and joy. May we know in our bones that death is not the end of resurrection. So, in memory of Gussie, here we go. Oh my.
You know the story. About 2,000 years ago, give or take a few years, a young itinerant religious teacher from Galilee came to Jerusalem to celebrate Passover with his followers. His followers were a ragtag bunch of mostly fishermen, with a tax collector and some women included for good measure. This teacher, this sage, who we call Jesus, had a reputation as a miracle worker, as a healer who was not afraid of touching lepers. Some people said that he might be the Messiah, the leader the Jewish people were waiting for to deliver them from oppression and establish the kingdom of heaven on earth. It didn't take Jesus long to get on the wrong side of the status quo in Jerusalem. The Sadducees at the temple were outraged when he overturned the tables of the money changers in the courtyard. To think that a young upstart from Nazareth was telling the priests how to operate the temple, it was just too much to bear. Later in the week, Jesus was arrested and brought before the Sanhedrin for questioning. The Sanhedrin was like the Jewish Supreme Court. It's a religious body. He was then delivered to the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate, with the explanation that he was a rabble-rouser, a troublemaker who was claiming to be the Messiah. Pilate, a ruthless man, did not want any uprisings in Jerusalem during the Passover feast. It was already difficult enough to keep the peace with thousands of pilgrims who flooded the city. It was easier to get rid of a would-be Messiah than risk a riot and his position as governor. Pilate sentenced Jesus to death by crucifixion. The sentence was carried out on Friday. According to the Gospels, Jesus was taken down from the cross and placed hurriedly in a borrowed tomb before sundown to avoid breaking the Sabbath prohibition against work. Sunday morning, some of the women who had accompanied Jesus to Jerusalem came to the tomb to wash his body and prepare it for more permanent burial. They were surprised to find the large stone that covered the opening had been rolled away, and Jesus was missing. Some of these women said they saw Jesus alive. Over the next few days, many of his followers reported seeing him and speaking with him. Whether you believe they actually saw him, or they were mistaken, or delusional from grief, makes no difference to the story. Whether you believe his resurrection was physical, or spiritual, or allegorical, makes no difference to his legacy. His followers were in deep despair, and then their beloved teacher was restored to them. We can identify with the joy of being made whole. We can identify with the feeling of relief that his resurrection gave them, just as we can identify with the relief that the ancient peoples felt at the first signs of spring after the cold, barren winter. It seemed that the earth was coming alive again after a death-like sleep. In our opening hymn today, Rising Green, you could feel the swell of new life in the earth. You could feel the energy of renewal and resurrection. This is what all the spring celebrations are about, the return of life. After the winter, the earth renews itself. It resurrects, if you will, and life starts again. We ask that you wear Easter bonnets, hats, and other emblems of spring today to celebrate the return of life. We wanted you to find joy and hope with each other in this sacred space. This place we love and this welcoming community is our base of operations as well as our safety and our sanctuary. I know that the past few months have been scary. I know that we are living through historic times that none of us asked for. But I want you to know that all is not lost. There is still hope. Look around the room. Look at each other. We are each other's hope. And this community is our hope and our joy. How cinematic. I am asking that in the words of Wendell Berry, we practice resurrection. When you hold someone's hand or give them a hug, you are practicing resurrection. When you work in the community harvest garden, you are practicing resurrection. All the food and supply drives we have at CUC for the organizations we support are us resurrecting each other. The church is redoubling its efforts to help the people who have been targeted for marginalization and discrimination. Look for more information on the things you can do to help the church's efforts in the next few weeks and months. And by the way, voting is resurrection. It's practicing resurrection. So, get your cards. There's, like I say, there's a way to find out who to vote for on here. It is up to all of us to resurrect each other. Besides our social justice efforts, there are other ways of resurrecting each other. Our worship services are resurrecting each other. The choir resurrects us every time they sing. All the little kindnesses we do are practicing resurrection. The smile you give someone you pass on the street is practicing resurrection. The few minutes of conversation you make with a stranger is resurrecting them and yourself. Let me be very clear. When I say we are resurrecting each other, that means all of us and everyone else, even those people who do not think like we do. Yes, I mean your crabby, irascible uncle, who you know didn't vote the way you did because of that red hat he wears everywhere. We cannot condone racism, sexism, and all the isms and phobias that are on the news right now. And we have to fight against them. But we still have to treat people with love and respect. There are so many people out there that feel lonely, afraid, discarded, and hopeless. They have been let down by a system that no longer works for them. They are easy prey for a fast-talking demagogue who tells them that all their troubles are caused by the scapegoat of the hour or the day or the minute. I believe it is our job, our religious calling, to help anyone who needs help to the best of our ability. I think in the next few years, there will be plenty of people that need help, plenty of people to resurrect. I think that this is a time for us, Unitarian Universalists, to step forward and practice resurrection. We must put our UU values to work. Grounded in love, our values are generosity, justice, interdependence, equity, transformation, and pluralism. Showing compassion to all people, even if they don't believe as we do, is resurrecting all of us. As Dr. King said, returning hate for hate multiplies hate, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Let us choose love. Let us choose resurrection. May it be so. As our service draws to a close, it's now time to extinguish our chalice. Please say these words together. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of the community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. As we go out into the world, let us take our Unitarian Universalist faith with us. Let us be grounded in love. Let us live our lives based on the values we share: generosity, justice, interdependence, equity, transformation, and pluralism. No matter what happens in the future, may we be in the resurrection business. May we practice resurrection daily and resurrect ourselves, each other, and ultimately the world. Go in peace, go in love, go in joy.